My name is Marianne Jones Ellsworth, but those who know me well call me Polly. I was born in 1836 in Cleobury, England. My parents, Thomas and Hannah, were Baptists. At age 16, I moved in with the Napper family, all of whom had converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I learned the truth of the work and was baptized in March 1854. Eager to follow the encouragement to gather Zion, I found myself on the ship Enoch train with hundreds of other saints, all assigned to handcart companies. We arrived in Boston and then made our way by train to Iowa City, the western terminus of the American railway system at the time. I should say that my friend and constant companion on this journey was Marianne or Polly Bates. We were assigned to the Edmund Ellsworth Handcart Company. You heard Polly describe that journey. About the handcart journey I wrote, we were met in Immigration Canyon by the First Presidency and a brass band and hundreds of people in carriages, on horseback, and on foot. It was a day never to be forgotten. We had reached the goal, and on foot all the way. I never left my handcart for a day and only rode over 2 rivers. We waded streams, crossed high mountains, and pulled through heavy sands, leaving comfortable homes, fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters. And what for? To be where we could hear a prophet's voice and live with the saints of God. I have never regretted my trip. We arrived in Salt Lake the 26th day of September, 1856. As Polly also explained, she and I were sealed to Edmund on October 4th, 1856. This was the morning of the day that Edmund's father, our prophet Brigham Young, learned that the last 2 handcart companies were on the trail hundreds of miles. The next morning he spoke in general conference and urged the saints to go bring them in from the plains. These were interesting and difficult times. We lived in Salt Lake near the prophet until 1866, when we moved to West Weber and began all over again. Edmund was so busy with work and church assignments. I was busy having and rearing 12 lovely children, 5 of which I bore in Salt Lake and the last 7 in West Weber. In 1880, when I was 44 and my youngest child was just 1 year old, our grand caravan, including Edmund, Polly, and me, and all of our unmarried children, as well as dozens of animals, moved south, ending up in Show Low, Arizona. The Show Low years were a mixture of family joys and poverty. Edmund was hunted down, arrested, prosecuted, and sentenced to time in the Yuma Territorial Prison. I lived in Show Low, while Polly Bates Ellsworth mostly resided in Mesa, where some of her boys had relocated. My grandchildren seemed to enjoy my company and my English accent. I would love to call the little ones around my knee and tell them stories. I would make them laugh, especially when I would use words like and ors and aus. One time I was asked the question, "Grandma, did you really walk all the way from the east to Salt Lake City?" My reply was, "My dear, all but one time. The water was too deep." After Edmund passed in 1893, I went to Mesa to live by my daughter, Sadie, but I felt drawn back to the Show Low area and moved back. After a long and fruitful life, I passed away in April 1925. I am buried next to Edmund in the Adair Cemetery outside Show Low. I am so grateful for my testimony of Christ, His atonement, and of the restoration of all things in the latter days.